Good day, folks, and welcome back to Horsemanship 101 again. Now, I've often said before that, I like to do videos that talk about things that other people don't talk about. I think all things need to be covered. And so, proper footwear around horses is not a new topic. Lots of people have talked about it for a number of different reasons. But just recently, I discovered another issue, another good reason for wearing decent footwear that I've never ever heard anybody talk about before. So I thought, hey, what the heck? Let's do a video about it, okay? Now, there's three good reasons, I think, for wearing decent footwear. Now, you notice I got sitting up here a boot. This is actually a riding boot made by actually, I think that one's a roper. Okay. And I'm going to get to that one in a minute, but I'm going to back up before you even get on the horse. Good footwear it's a safety issue, and as you can see, I'm wearing some fairly substantial leather hiking boots. Not particularly great. They don't have as much heel as I'd like, but that's beside the point. At least they do give me some protection for my feet, because sooner or later, it's a given, you're going to get stepped on. It's not if it happens, it's just a matter of when. Sooner or later, you are going to get stepped on. And, when you got something like this, 1,000 pounds, that could do a lot of damage. It hurts. You should have something on, definitely. There was a picture floating around. It's actually, I've seen it just recently, but it's been going around for a few years, of a young girl that got near a horse wearing flip-flops. And the horse stepped on her and removed the flesh right down to the bone. You could see the bones exposed. Not a pretty sight at all. Now, as far as I know, it healed up quite nicely. And I've seen a couple of different stories as to what actually happened, how the situation occurred. Doesn't matter anyhow. Fact is, she was wearing flip-flops, got stepped on by a horse, and the weight of that horse with its hooves was adequate to rip the flesh right off her foot. And man, it was not pretty. I saw several pictures of that, very graphic. And I've been stepped on quite a few times. Like I say, it's not a matter of if it happens, just a matter of when. I've been stepped on several times. And even, knowing what I know, and I'm very careful where my feet go around a horse, I was stepped on, I think the most recent event was probably about 4 months ago. So it can and will happen. It's a given. If you're around a horse, you want some protection on your feet, because you're going to get stepped on. And believe me, those hooves hurt. And, it's not always intentional. Now, the other thing that you hear people talking about is for riding, and I see it all the time. It makes me cringe every time I see it. I see people riding in sneakers and stuff like that. Very inappropriate footwear. One of the rules that a lot of places have, whether it's riding stables or whatever, your footwear must have a heel. And I want to show you why. I'm going to use a couple of props here. So I got the saddle out and I got this boot. So I want to show you how this works. That heel actually keeps your foot from going all the way through the stirrup, because that heel is going to catch on the stirrup, and it's going to prevent that boot from going all the way through. I got pretty big feet, so chances are that's not going to happen anyhow. But that's not the point. It's a safety issue, because if you don't have that heel to stop you, your foot can go all the way through. It has happened. And then what happens is, chances are if you lose your stirrup, you're going to fall off. And then your foot is kind of through the stirrup like that. And when you fall off, you're going to get hanging from the stirrup, and you can't get your foot out, and you could potentially get dragged to your death. So having heels on your footwear when you're riding, it's basically a life and death situation. Quite literally, it can be. I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but believe me, it can happen. So footwear with substantial heels that can keep your boot from going all the way through, very important. Some people will actually suggest boots that do not have laces. As you can see, these ones do. I like laces on my boots. I've never heard of a case of laces getting caught up on anything, but I suppose it's possible. It could happen. I don't find it a big concern, but some people say riding boots should not have laces. So that you can consider that one. I don't know. Jury's out on that, in my opinion. But Okay, those are the two very common ones. Is for being around a horse or for riding, substantial footwear, and for riding something definitely with heels. I think that's an absolute must. The odds of it, you ever needing it, pretty slim. But like I said, it potentially can be a life and death situation. Now, I come up with a third one just recently, and I've never heard anybody talk about it. And I started thinking about it when it happened is wearing some decent footwear that has got, fairly strong sole and some fairly thick leather on them. There's a fair bit of protection on these things. And just recently I was riding, and my foot was in the stirrup like that, and the horse turned around and tried biting my toe. And I started thinking about it. We fixed that problem immediately. It didn't last long, but that wasn't the point. I just thought, you know what, there's one more good reason for having some decent footwear on, because if I was wearing something less substantial, that could have done a lot of damage. I don't know how many of you have ever been bitten by a horse. I have in the past. Wasn't on the foot, mind you, but if they choose to bite you, they can do a lot of damage. They can have a very, very hard bite. And, on the note of getting bitten, sometimes they'll not only go after the toe, but they'll actually go after the leg or something. So I would say, the higher the boot, the better. This is typical height for myself. This is what I like to wear. If you've got cowboy boots or, even some women's riding boots are much higher yet. That would definitely probably give you more protection if the horse did try and bite you on the leg or something. But that was just one more thing that I came up with. I've never heard anybody talk about it before, but some substantial footwear would definitely protect your toes in the event that the horse tries taking a nip at your toe. Now, that doesn't happen too often either, but believe me, you only need to get bit once to know about it. So there you go. 3 good reasons to wear decent footwear. If you're around a horse, you might get stepped on, so you want to wear something on your feet to protect your feet. When you're riding, absolutely you want something decent, especially something with a heel. A heel, that's a must. That's a serious, serious safety issue in my books. Like I say, pretty rare you're going to need that, but it only takes once. I mean, that literally can be a life and death issue, having that heel on there. It can prevent your foot from going through the stirrup and you getting hung up if you fall off the horse, because chances are if your foot goes through the stirrup, you're going to fall off this side because you probably got more weight in there than you should or whatever. It'll throw you off, and you could potentially get dragged to your death, depending on the horse. So very serious safety issue, having a heel on your boot. And like I said, wearing decent footwear when you're riding. Also a safety issue if the horse decides to take a nip at your foot or your leg. And that's the one I've never heard anybody talk about, but I just had that experience recently. And, actually, I think I've had it a couple of times. I've never even thought about it before, but just recently it dawned on me. It's like, hey, that's another good reason for wearing some decent footwear, is if that horse does decide to turn around and take a nip at your toe, you got a fair bit of protection on there, because believe me, they can bite hard. So 3 reasons to wear some good footwear when you're around horses or riding. There you go. Have a good day.